The Ready for a Relationship podcast helps people just like you who find themselves single and alone in their later years get unstuck and break the pattern to move forward and build the loving relationship you expected to have at this point in your life. Discover how to build your relationship with confidence in a fun, easy, loving way so that you are the right person for your right person. And if you enjoy the show and want to share some love, subscribe, rate, review, leave a comment. It all really helps. Here's Suzanne, the host of your show.
Hello, everyone. I'm Suzanne. Are you ready for a relationship? Let's talk about some easy, fun, loving methods. I'm here with Sean. Sean, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, everybody. Nice to be back.
You know what we're going to talk about today, folks? We're going to talk about how to deal with 3 things that could derail your new love relationship before it even starts. Yuck.
Yuck. True, yuck.
Yuck. Okay, 3 things, everyone. First, so you know what you're in for and you know if you want to stay on this podcast. The 3 things we're going to talk about are, Sean, please fill us in.
Okay. The 3 things I'm hearing a lot these days. People say all the people around me are negative. You know, they're finally got to a point where they think, I'm ready. I'm going to step out there and I'm going to look for a love relationship again. And then everybody around them is all negative. And that's one. And the other is they're still dealing with the pain from the past relationship. So, it's been 10 years, Sean, and the pain is finally starting to go away. So, and sometimes, I've had people tell me that at 20 years. So, that's really, really difficult to move forward if that's where you're still at. And other people, they've been in that long-term relationship. They think finally they're ready to go out there, but they have this huge fear that, but I'm 20 years older and my body's 20 years older. And I've only been intimate with this person for all these years. And I don't know how to be intimate with somebody new. So those are really the 3 things that I'm hearing a lot right now these days.
Wow. Those are important things to deal with. Gosh,
right?
I can see how a relationship could be derailed before it even gets started if you're having to deal with all of those things.
Exactly.
Okay, folks, we've set the stage. Now you know whether you want to stick around and hear some of our solutions for you to help you get past this so you can have the loving relationship you want.
Well, you're the one with the solutions. So, let's start with the first one, because this is really important. People finally get to a point where they think, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to step out there again. And then everybody in their family tells them, no, that sucks. The relationships never work anymore. And all their peers at work tell them that too. And pretty soon all they're hearing is that, all the guys out there, they're no good. And all the girls out there, they're no good. And so all this doubt is coming in from the people that are around them. What do you do with that?
Well, it's important. Let's look at the beginning. Number 1, recognize that you are hearing someone's opinion is the first thing. Recognize it's simply someone's opinion, doesn't make it true. Next thing, is it taking you in a direction, this person's opinion, is it taking you in a direction you want to be in? Is it representative of a reality that you want to live in? If it is, terrific, keep the opinion. If it's not, so in this case, it's not serving you because people are in the coffee room or on the chats saying, yeah, everyone else sucks and it's not possible to find a good one anymore. And you're just feeding into the frenzy. And what I would caution everybody is to be very careful what you are reading, who you are listening to, and who you are hanging around with. Because that is going to influence you and how positive and good you feel. And it will directly affect your ability to attract the right person into your life.
Okay. But wait a minute, because it's easy to say all that stuff. But what do you do when those are the people that are your close friends or family or coworkers? Not like you can go away.
Okay. A couple of choices here. If it's someone that you can't make them go away.
I didn't say make them go away. I said you can't go away.
Poof, they go away. Isn't that a nice little picture? If it's someone in your family that you have to see and interact with, perhaps it's a brother, a sister, a parent, a relative that you see a lot of, or a coworker that you're around, my suggestion is once you find out what their take is on a good relationship and the possibility of finding a good relationship, if you figure out it's on the negative side, don't go there in your conversations. If it comes up, change the subject. And
Okay,
a lot of go ahead.
Basically, then, if I'm at work and the people at work are really down on relationships, we're just not going to talk about that. I'm not going to be part of that conversation in that place with them.
Exactly. And I have been almost amusingly pointed. Sometimes conversations go in a direction I'm not willing to go in, and I will say, look at the weather out there.
So you do a pattern interrupt. You kind of stop them and say, and everybody thinks, what the hell is she talking about? And it breaks the pattern.
Exactly. That's a very smart name for it. I'm just like very obvious. Let's change the subject, shall we?
Okay.
Which is another way of even being more direct. But it depends who they are and where you want to go. So sometimes just switch the subject, be aware, and talk about something completely different, or just outright say, this doesn't make me feel good at all with the possibilities. Let's change it to what's positive. And there are some people, unfortunately, you're just not going to spend quite as much time with. And there are hopefully other people, other podcasts, other information, other YouTube videos, empowering people that you're going to reach out to and spend more time with.
Right. I get that. It's limit the time with those people then. And even if it's family members, we're not talking about that part of my life because you're not supportive. And really the people that are around you, family members, friends, your people have to be cheering for you. If they're not cheering for you, they're not the right people to be around at this point. Would you agree?
Right. Absolutely. And I would say that in every area of our lives. When you've had an interaction with someone, ask yourself, did that lift me up? Then you want to spend more time with that person. And if it didn't, if you keep finding the repetition of, I feel kind of depressed after I've been with that person or after I've listened to that news, then it's time to say to yourself, do I want to feel depressed? If you don't want to feel depressed, you got to change who you're hanging around with, who you're listening to, and what you're allowing into your life. And I would like to give all of our listeners an added tip. Sometimes this slips into our consciousness very slowly. The whole negative vibe. Mm-hmm. If we're getting that negativity and that feedback that things are challenging, things are hard, no matter what it is in your life, it's slowly repeated. It becomes what we take in, accept, and live by without us even realizing it's happened.
Uh-huh. I understand that.
So
It creeps slowly in. I get that. And we don't know why it happened or why we're feeling the way we are until we stop ourselves and catch that. Actually, you bring a good point when you say after you've been with somebody for a while, having a conversation, having coffee, whatever you were doing, and you can take the time to actually ask yourself, did it lift me up or not? Then you'll kind of start to become more consciously aware of that particular person, if they're a good fit for you at this time or not in your life.
right, right. And it's something I've consciously been aware of pretty well, since I was 15, is you can uplift people or you can bring them down. And I've always worked at the uplifting, and it tends to be why a lot of people want to gather around me.
I get that.
It's awareness and it's choices.
Cool. Okay. Let's look
Okay.
at the next one, because this is a big one too. Is, people say, well, Sean, it's been 10 years and the pain is finally starting to go away. But boy, if I see him on the street and then they go into that, and it's like, oh, so it's not really gone away. It's there. It's just as long as you get on a different planet from this person, then maybe you could distance yourself enough. But so what would you say about that? Because my thinking is, if this person is ready to start dating again and wants to have a long-term love relationship again, not just a hookup, but a long-term love relationship, and the pain is still kind of there, but just fading away, I don't know. I think that's going to be a disaster. What do you think?
Disaster.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's do everyone a favor. And this means for yourself as well as the person that you may choose to go on a date with or a discovery meeting to have. Some clarity and some peace in our lives. So, what I'm going to say is not going to be easy, but it will be extremely helpful. I would encourage everyone listening to this that's in this position to actually write down the things that they hated or that they experienced that upset them in past relationships.
Wow, that's super hard to do.
Yep, I know. And it's having to face that reality and that pain with perhaps a box of tissues and a box of chocolates.
Okay.
Okay. It's so important to say, to write out, because if you just say it, if you just think it, it swims in your head and you never get any clarity. It's just a mass of consciousness that, you're miserable.
Yeah,
Or
I know that for myself.
Okay, or someone made you miserable. It's just this mass in your head and you're running on this. And then the next person you have a date with is going to have everything colored by your past.
Mm-hmm.
Your past, you've been with someone who drank too much. Well, now this new person, you're looking at that. Well, how much do they drink? I am going to make a judgment on that. Right? This is my expectation. Now, I think you drink too much. I know you're going to treat me poorly. But I mean, there's a whole bunch of baggage that comes from past relationships. So if we can get clarity and say, I don't want, or this happened, or this is how I feel, and I don't ever want to feel like I'm substandard anymore. I don't ever want to feel like I'm second to something else, like I'm not important. I deserve to feel important. Okay, so you're writing this all out. Did you see what just happened? I went from I don't want to what I do want.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. It's kind of a progression if you're aware. of what you don't want, you can say, this is what I do choose. And you start to clear that out. And another thing that you do in the process is you say, you know what, that was an experience. Good or bad, it was an experience. And maybe, just maybe, I needed to go through that experience for some reason. Maybe I will be able to use that experience to springboard into the most beautiful relationship ever, because I'm more clear on what I want and who I choose to be. So it's been a benefit to you. And maybe I can even go on to help other people who are going through that. Maybe that was a reason, right? There's always a reason we allow and go through what we do. And giving it, it's going to be really hard too. Giving that past that you're not crazy about, or that person in your past that you really are not crazy about, giving them a little bit of love and a little bit of understanding.
Huh. Okay. From that, my takeaway on that one was the most important thing when you're writing that down and you're saying, this is what I didn't like, and I didn't like that. It's you hit on it beautifully, because when you're thinking about what you don't like, you can almost automatically think about, well, what would I like instead? I didn't like that at all. I wish he would treat me this way, and I'm looking for that. And now you can start to, it's kind of a twofold exercise, right? It's one, let's burn the trash and get rid of that part. But two, let's get clarity on where we would like to go. That's a beautiful exercise, Suzanne.
Thank you. I love it. I love that. That was a great explanation of that.
Okay. So we look at
the one thing I want to say on that is,
okay.
Everyone, I know this isn't easy. Okay, my heart goes out to you, because I know this is one of the hardest things that you will ever have to do. But I also want to tell you, it will be so worth it to go through that little bit of pain with the help of your chocolate. That's my go-to anyway.
Okay.
To go through that pain and look at it, and it's like peeling an onion from the old Shrek movie, right? It's you're going to peel something away, and then you're going to feel more vulnerable, and you're going to feel something else come up. And it's a process. I want everybody to know it's a process. Even if you decide that, look, this is what I want and I'm feeling good now, something else is still going to come up. The past thought is going to come up again. And you're just going to have to say, thank you for sharing. Thank you for trying to protect me, to that little voice in your head. However, I'm writing a new story.
Right.
And that's how I'd like to end that section. I know it's not easy, but I know you're capable. And if you need help, reach out to me, or reach out to someone you trust and you care about.
Right.
You're
Perfect.
not alone. You're not alone.
You're not alone. Boy, that's a big, we're going to do a whole nother podcast on that feeling that I'm alone and I'm separated and I'm,
and by
okay.
the way, just quickly, that ties into the first one, right? Don't go to the negative person that's going to give you the bad feedback. If you're going to someone and you want a little love and support, make sure you go to the right people who'll be able to give you that.
Right. Okay. Cool. So the last one that we were going to talk about is, I want to date again, but I've been with the same person for so many years, and I have all this self-doubt, right? All this doubt comes out again. And it's like, well, I'm older, my body's older. I'm not sure if anybody's going to love me. And, there's all of that stuff that comes up, and people, I had a lady, she literally said, I'm terrified to date again. And she hadn't dated for 20 years because she had been in a long-term relationship. And finally, she's gotten to the point where she'd like to go forward, but she literally is paralyzed by this fear and doubt about herself. And she said to me, my body's 20 years older. Who's going to want to be with me, and all of those things. So what do you do with that, Suzanne?
Wow, I get that one. Even those of us in relationships have that. Okay, it's a twofold thing that I'm going to suggest. Number one, let's go to some positive statements about ourselves, some I am statements, some building up of our self-esteem. You may have come out of a relationship where you weren't treated well,
Mm,
where you felt like you were less than you actually are. And let's face it, when you've got a failed relationship, you want to take part of the responsibility and you say, maybe I'm not good enough. And
mm,
that couldn't be further from the truth. Let me tell you that. Because you are always good enough. That relationship may not have been good enough for the two of you, but you personally are always good enough. So it's the way of talking more kindly to yourself, more gently, accepting and loving yourself for who you are and where you're at
mm.
is number one. Okay. And some I am statements, even gentle ones. I'm getting better at accepting myself. I'm loving my body more every day. That kind of thing to just build yourself back up again. That's also not always easy. It feels when you first start to say it, you feel like I'm being fake. I'm not being real. But the more you say it, believe it or not, the more you're going to understand it and believe it. So that's number one. And the second thing I would encourage everybody with is the little gift of living in the present. Okay. Our mind tends to always want to go to the fear and the worry rather than the happy place. I don't know why we're geared to that, but it's like, oh, I've got something I need to worry about. I need to worry about it now. It hasn't happened yet.
That's
All right. So, my suggestion is when you live in the present and you don't worry about the future when maybe you will have the romantic sexual aspect of that relationship, don't worry about it yet. Because unless you're after a one night stand, and if you are, then I doubt you're in this situation. You're looking for a long term relationship, you're going to allow that relationship to evolve and grow. So go for the first date, go for the coffees, go for the things that you do in that relationship, build a bond, build a relationship, build a trust.
like a
And
friendship.
bingo, right? And the trust and the caring. By the time you get to, if you get to that point in the relationship where you feel the caring and you feel the trust, everything else will flow naturally and you won't have had to worry about a thing because you'll feel more perfect.
Oh, yeah, that it's interesting you bring it up that way because it seems to be a lot of people miss that step and they're going really quickly and they're forgetting about building up the relationship first and becoming connected on a level that you could say, this is somebody I totally trust. And this is somebody that I really feel for and I really care about, you know. When you get to those points, the rest of that, well, then that'll all come naturally, right? And no one will be judging anyone when you've gotten to that point. It's like you say, even before the relationship starts, already a person is like, oh my goodness, I put on 20 pounds. I have to do something about this. You know, it's like, well, maybe you do, maybe you don't.
Exactly. And maybe the person you're with loves you just the way you are. How nice would that feel?
Yeah, how is that going to feel exactly? Huh.
So I hope that helps. What do you think, Sean?
Well, those are real things that are coming up all the time every day when I'm chatting with people and working with people. So those are real issues, and I'm certain anybody listening to this can put those tools to work and help themselves get over that issue so that they can go forward cleanly. That's always what I think. It's always the goal is to how can you move forward in a clean, clear way and not allow the past to start to create your future, right? If we can just cut that right there, leave it, and then allow ourselves a clean start. Be gentle with ourselves and allow ourselves. Don't judge ourselves. Just take a clean start and go from there. And surround ourselves with people who will allow us and support us and cheer for us to have a clean start, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's what I see. So
that's
thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sean, because the clarity is, how can you create a new story if you're still dragging around an old story that you don't like?
Right.
Boom. Boom. There you have it. So, folks, thank you for joining us again on an Easy, Fun, Lovin' podcast. If you would like more help and support, we have everything available to you on our website called readyforarelationship.com. So please join us there. We've got some more podcasts. We've got some information. If you'd like some added support, just let us know. Message us through there. Sean, you're smiling. Something you wanted to add?
It's all good. I'm happy for people finding a way to have support and positive support. It's all good.
Awesome. So go to readyforarelationship.com. We want to help and support you find that love relationship of your dreams in an easy, fun, loving manner. So thanks for joining us. See you soon.
Here we are at the end of the podcast, and you just got some Suzanne lovin'. If you got value out of this podcast and you want to spread some love too, subscribe, rate, review, leave a comment, and who was it that you were thinking about who could also be uplifted by it? Share it with them now. Catch you next time.